Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you how to compress lead vocals in a mix. We're going to go over a couple different ways to compress lead vocals when you're trying to sit them in the mix here today. But before we dive in, if you are ready to take your vocal mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your EQ strategy when it comes to vocals, then I have just the thing for you. It is my ultimate guide to vocal EQ, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through how to EQ your vocals step by step to help you get polished and professional sounding vocal mixes without any more of the guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and take a look at this vocal. We're going to walk through the way I compress the vocal when I'm usually mixing, and then what we're going to do is we're going to flip over and I'm going to show you how to do it using the stock compressor inside your DAW. I like using an 1176 style compressor when it comes to vocals, so we'll walk through that first, but then we're going to flip over and we're going to talk about using the stock compressor. That way, if that's all you have is the stock compressor in your DAW, I'm going to show you how to get a good sounding vocal compression just using that, okay? So let me play you the finished mix for this song, and then we'll dive into the compressor on the vocal here.
1, 2, 3, won't you look at me? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 7, 8, 9, no, it ain't fine. 1, 2, 3, won't you look at me? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 7, 8, 9, no, that ain't fine.
So you can hear a couple things right off the bat here. You can hear our vocals very strong sounding. It's out front in the mix. It balances really well with our harmony. It's not moving all over the place dynamic wise. And it also has a good amount of energy to it. Now, there's a couple things that are pretty universal with a compressor here that you're going to get. And that's, balance volume wise. But what you're not going to get from a stock compressor, which is why I use this 1176 style compressor, is the energy and the character boost that you get with this unit here. So I want you to take a listen here, and I'm going to A-B the compressor. I want you to listen to how the vocal changes.
1, 2, 3, won't you look at me? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 7, 8, 9, now that I ain't fine.
So, of course, we're getting a little bit of volume. It's balancing out the volume on our vocal, but you can hear the energy shift as well on the vocal. And that's the main reason I'm using a compressor like this, an 1176 style compressor. But let's jump into the actual tactics of the compressor here. So I've got the attack set at 0.54 milliseconds. So I'm not going too fast, but I'm not going too slow for this unit here. It's still a relatively fast attack. 0.54 milliseconds. We're under a millisecond. You can see all of the attack numbers on this unit are under a millisecond. We go from 0.8 milliseconds to 0.02 milliseconds. So that's really, really fast. But medium slow attack for this unit here, so not going too fast with this unit. We don't want to chop off the beginning of the vocal phrase, but we also want to catch that initial transient to make sure we don't have any kind of peak or really harsh attack at the beginning of our vocal. Now the release here is set as fast as possible. We want to be able to grab these peaks on the vocal and then let go of them so we're not squashing the vocal. We want the vocal to have some room to breathe here and to have a little bit of dynamic feel to it. We're trying to control the dynamics, but we don't want to squash them. We want to have a little bit of air and a little bit of room to breathe on the vocal here. So our release is going to make sure we let go of the vocal before we re-attack on our next phrase. We're not going to just be holding down and constantly attacking. And you'll be able to see that visually here on the unit in a second. Now, input and output. On this unit, the way you get compression is by pushing the input and pulling back the output. So the further we push into the unit, the higher we crank up the input here, the more compression we're going to get on this unit. And then you pull back the output to balance the volume in and out of the compressor here. So take a listen here. I'm going to hit play, and I'll A-B our compressor. Pay attention to how much reduction we're doing with the unit, and then listen to how our vocal changes as we go in and out of the unit here. And I'm just gonna loop this second vocal line here. That way we're not waiting too long in between vocal phrases.
4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss?
So you can see we're doing about 7 to 10 dB reduction on the vocal. That means we're pulling down the peaks and being able to bring up the lower parts or the quieter parts of the vocal to get a really balanced vocal sound. So our vocal's not going to be jumping all over the place. If we zoom out here, you can see there's some quieter sections on the vocal, there's some smaller phrases here, and then we have bigger peaks that jump out. We want to be able to control those peaks and balance them against the quieter phrases or the more lower down phrases inside the vocal. That's what we're doing volume-wise. Now, 7 to 10 dB reduction may seem like quite a lot of compression to put on the vocal. It may seem like we're squashing the vocal, but we're not. We're controlling it dynamically, but we're also controlling it frequency-wise. So we talked about volume. This time as I A-B the compressor, pay attention to how our vocal changes character-wise and tone-wise. So here's without and then with.
4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss?
So we get some thickness back from our vocal by pushing that hard into this compressor hair. It gives us some character and it gives us some color. It gives us a huge energy boost on our vocal, and that becomes quite a bit more apparent as we listen to it inside the track here, which we'll do in just a second here. But it also brings up some thickness in the low-mid area of our vocal. So it gives our vocal some warmth and some bottom-end weight to it, which rounds out our vocal overall. That's one of the reasons I love this compressor and that I push so hard into it. It gives us balance volume-wise as well as frequency-wise. So take a listen one more time here inside the track and listen for that energy shift and that character shift in the vocal. So we'll start without the compressor and then with it. And I'm also gonna mute the harmony here on the vocal. That way we're just focusing in on the lead vocal.
1, 2, 3, won't you look at me? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 7, 8, 9, now that I ain't fine. 1, 2, 3, won't you look at me? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 7, 8, 9, now that I ain't fine.
You can hear how much more controlled our vocal is and how much more up front it sits. It's not getting lost inside the mix, but it has that energy to compete with the rest of the track. One of the reasons I love this compressor so much is the character and the energy you get from it. Okay, I've talked a whole bunch now about why I love this FET Comp and the 1176 style compressor. Let's flip over now, and I want to pull in the stock compressor here from Studio One. It's just called compressor. So we'll turn off the FET Comp here or the FAT channel, and we're going to actually walk through compressing the vocal here just using the stock compressor. So I'm going to loop this phrase here again so we're not waiting so long in between vocal phrases. But you can see it has a nice big peak to it. You want to focus in your compressor on a section that has a big peak to it or that has a lot of energy, because you don't want to compress a quiet phrase, because then when you flip to a louder phrase, you're going to be squashing your vocal. So hone in on a section of the vocal that has some peaks to it or that has a lot of energy and volume to it, and set your compressor settings there. First thing we're going to do here is we're going to get our attack and release set. Now, if you don't know how to set your attack and release, a good way to do that is to pull your threshold down very, very far until you're getting a ton of compression, and then tweak your attack and release there. You'll be able to see how the vocal is interacting as you change these settings, and you'll be able to hear how the vocal changes as well. So our attack is how fast our compressor is going to act on the vocal, and then our release is how fast it's going to let go on our vocal here. The ratio on vocals, I like to go up to a 4-to-1 ratio. So it's a little bit more aggressive. It's not limiting. We're not all the way up at like 20-to-1. It's not brick wall. But this here means for every 4 dB we go over the threshold here, we're going to let 1 dB through on the vocal. So it's a little bit more aggressive. It's not as gentle as something like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. We're putting a little bit of aggression here on the vocal so we can control some of these peaks here. So what we're going to do I'm going to pull the threshold all the way down here, and we're going to tweak our attack and release. Remember how fast our settings were on our 1176. We're probably going to shoot closer to that, not go slower from here. So I'm going to hit play. We're going to start tweaking our settings.
4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss?
Okay, so the threshold is way down, but what you can see is how the compressor is reacting as we tweak the attack and release here. I've dialed the attack up to about 6 milliseconds here, so pretty fast attack here. 6 milliseconds is very, very quick. And then release, we're up at about 40 milliseconds. I want you to pay attention here when I hit play. Watch how our gain reduction reacts. So watch how our compressor reacts as we cross the threshold here. You'll see our attack and release moving in time with the vocal. So it's going to attack these peaks and these transients, and then it's going to let go as fast as possible to re-attack on the next peak or transient.
4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss?
So now that we've got our attack set, let's get our threshold set. So we were doing about 7 to 10 dB reduction on our other unit. Let's shoot for somewhere in the same ballpark. So I'm going to reset our threshold here, and we're going to pull it back down to we're doing about 7, maybe 8 dB reduction here.
4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 4, 5, 6, tell me.
Okay, I've set our threshold at about negative 19.2 here, so almost negative 19, and we're doing about 8.5 dB reduction on that big peak there. The last thing I did was I set our makeup gain. So our makeup gain's working like our output on our 1176 was, right? We're balancing the volume in and out of the compressor. And I was shooting to balance it kind of here on the middle section here. I don't want it all the way as loud as where the peak was, but I don't want it all the way quiet where it was in the middle. So you can see our input volume here and our output volume was here, just shooting to balance it somewhere in the middle there. So we've got a good sounding compression going on here. Let's loop our vocal here and see what we have across this chorus section. I'm going to throw it back inside the track here. So take a listen.
1, 2, 3, won't you look at me? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 7, 8, 9, now that I ain't fine. Down, I can breathe down. 1, 2, 3, won't you look at me? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 7, 8, 9, now that I ain't fine.
So what you hear is we have that balance volume-wise, but we're not necessarily getting the energy or the character change that we get from the 1176 style compressor. That's usually why I'm reaching for the 1176 over the stock compressor. I can get the results I want with the stock compressor. It'll give us a little bit of thickness in the low mid area because of how much compression we're doing, and it's going to balance out our vocal, but it's not going to enhance the energy of our vocal. That's why if you're using stock compression, sometimes you have to reach for parallel compression or effects or distortion or something to help enhance the energy of your vocal. So take a listen here. Last thing we're going to do is I'm going to flip between them, and you can hear each compressor on the lead vocal here inside the track.
1, 2, 3, won't you look at me? 4, 5, 6, tell me when will you miss? 7, 8, 9, now
So compressing vocals is about getting two things: balance volume-wise as well as frequency-wise. I'm reaching for the 1176 style compressor because it's giving me that tone shift and that character change, and it's giving me that extra boost of energy that a stock compressor won't give me. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you're ready to take your vocal mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your EQ strategy on vocals, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my ultimate guide to vocal EQ, and you can download it below to start creating more professional vocal mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.